You're listening to Nurturing Parents, the official podcast of the Radically Inclusive Parenting Project. Here, we hold space for real conversations at the intersections of parenting, spirituality, and justice. With each episode, we bring together experts, everyday parents, and advocates to explore how we can raise the next generation with purpose, intention, and love. So whether you're tuning in from a quiet moment of rest or in the middle of the beautiful chaos of family life, take a deep breath and let's journey together. Hello and welcome to another episode of Nurturing Parents. My name is Nettie and I am a co-director for the Radically Inclusive Parenting Project. We're excited to have Brandon Taylor Sides here with us today. Brandon is a passionate, creative leader and educator, dedicated to inspiring others through music, performance, and community engagement. With a talent for blending artistry and organization, he brings vision and energy to every project that he undertakes. Thank you so much, Brandon, for being here today.
Thank you. It is my pleasure and my honor to be here with you today.
I'm really excited to learn more about your story, and I learned from you that you have a passion for art, music, and making this world a better place. And I'd love if you're willing to share with us the story behind how you came to start Artfinix Works Foundation.
That's a fantastic question. It has been a lifelong journey. However, the journey has taken place for about 10 years now. Of course, a graduate at Columbia College Chicago, whoop whoop to my fellow alumni there. I was studying music composition and music education. I have a passion for teaching, and of course, music is my thing. I've done it since I was a child. One of the first things that a counselor told me when I went to Columbia as a transfer student actually is that when you get to school, don't wait until you graduate your senior year of school, get into an internship immediately. And the reason he was saying that is because for many people that go to school the day after they graduate, it is a complete and total nightmare because reality is sinking in. You're trying to figure out where to get the job, who's going to hire you. And so that was something that I took to heart, and I actually began looking for different organizations that I could intern with. And as a music composition major, that's not really a field where you can intern to write, especially because many of the people are in LA or they're in New York and they're writing music for big movie productions. So why would they want to hire an undergrad student to do that? So as I thought about that, I began to, of course, go into a place of fear, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get this intern? Or who do I know if everyone is traveling out of state or only in Hollywood? And that's when I came up with the idea that there are many people who have graduated, they've worked really hard to get their degrees, and they apply for a job just to be told you don't have enough experience. And how are they supposed to get the experience if you won't give them the opportunity to do that? And
Right.
so it was my initial and foundational purpose for starting the Artfinix Foundation and the Artfinix Studios company. It was to give opportunities for many students that have graduated from college that are creative, such as myself, where they can manage their own lives and use their craft to create their own careers. And should they want to go forward to go to New York or LA, they have the option, or they can stay center based and develop their own careers from there. So that it was the initial reason why I started the field.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that and highlighting that need, that gap,
Yes.
that there are young adults ready to work, and many employers are looking for people with experience. And like you said, how do you expect these young graduates to have experience? They need to be given the opportunity. But it's really hard to find the right fit when it comes to your career path, especially like you're highlighting those who are inclined to the arts and music, right?
Indeed.
Would you be willing to share where you are based and what community you're currently serving with this work?
Yes. I am based in the great city of Chicago, or Chicago, Illinois. I am the southwest suburbs of Chicago, known as Summit, Illinois. So I still take credit as a Chicagoan. We're all in Illinois, so it works that way.
Yes. And what does it look like with the people coming into your studio? Who are the faces that you're seeing?
We have a very diverse crowd of students and adults. We have children as young as 6 all the way up to clients that are almost 80 or they're kissing 80, I'll say. And of course, we don't combine the adult programming with the children's programming. We're very diverse. We have people that identify as male and female, different ethnic groups. We have our African American students, our Caucasian students, our Latino students. We're very diverse. We even have some of our Eastern European students. So it's amazing that we have such diversity.
Yes, and that is a beautiful space to imagine where art and creativity are emerging in a diverse community.
Yes,
That right there is special. And those are the spaces that we all should be tapping into, I believe, for
indeed.
our time. So, when it comes to music, creativity, would you be willing to share how those areas have impacted your personal journey?
Oh, my. Music has impacted my life ever since I was a young kid. It has been there when I first started playing the tambourine in church, and that was probably when I was 5 or 6 years old, up to singing in the choir. And then, of course, when I hit the age 8 or so, I went to a cousin's house and they had a piano, and I just started playing notes in there. And one of my older cousins said it's time for him to start taking piano lessons. And that was how I was introduced to the piano that way. I developed and took lessons. Of course, anyone that was born in the 80s and 90s, they probably had that strict teacher that was probably 80 or a little bit older, and they had the ruler. So that, of course, scared me a little bit and made me stop. And then I, of course, came back to it. But another important part is that I will say music has been very pivotal to me, even in the darkest parts of my life as well. Specifically, thinking about myself when I was 11 years old and my mother was passing away with pancreatic cancer. Just listening to music, I remember listening to Anita Baker, Patti LaBelle, Whitney Houston. Even though their voices are beautiful, it was the messages behind the music. When my mother passed, I remember listening to a song called It's Only for a While by Anita Baker. I probably have that song playing a few thousand times, but it was what I listened to when I woke up till when I went to bed, because that is what helped me heal and helped me to grieve in a healthy way.
Wow. That's very, very personal. And it just speaks to the power of music, how music can touch us in a way that only words can't. And so, thanks for lifting that up. Have you been able to see how music and creativity has supported the inner journey for the students that you work with?
I have seen the impact of music and creativity for every student that has come into the school. It makes me think of one of my first clients when I opened the school, really shy young lady, probably 10 or 11 years old. She came to do a free trial lesson with me on piano. And I can see in the mother's face that she was excited for her daughter to start this journey. But the kid was really quiet, didn't make eye contact, and very shy. And I told the mother, I believe in the struggle, and I know what it's like not to be the social butterfly. I know it's hard to believe. Those who know me, they'll understand that later. But I said, I meet students where they are, and then we develop and build from there. And I saw a big wind of relief fall across the mother's body when I said that. And then we went and did the trial lesson. 25 minutes later, the students coming out smiling, laughing, and even talking. And the mother was just shocked. She just like, what did you do to my kid? I don't know what you did to my daughter, but she's home. She wants this instrument and she's excited to come back to her lesson because her daughter never wants to leave the house. That student has grown into a young leader now. They're actually one of my junior educators now. So they're helping other kids. Many students who've come in with, they identify with crippling anxiety, or they're shy, they don't like to talk. And now these kids are the first ones to get up on stage and take chances and speak. So it's always a journey. I know that sometimes we have to wrestle to help us understand healthy communication, but I have seen the impact and the power of creativity and giving the students the space to grow.
That's powerful work and a powerful story. It really moves me to hear that. As a parent myself with 4 young children, I see them developing and they wrestle with insecurity, they wrestle with fear, lack of confidence, and our society emphasizes the nuclear home life and really puts a lot of pressure on the primary caregivers and the parents to nurture the child. But I see what you're offering is a communal space, a space for the community to come together to pour into children, offering them safety to experiment and to try new things and to grow out of their comfort zone. And that is incredibly healing and empowering for a young child to have that kind of support. And so I believe wholeheartedly that the work you're doing at Artfinix is bringing healing into our world and it's healing the next generation. And this is an important thing to lift up and consider how does this healing path show up in the home lives for families, maybe with the parents that you've interacted with, you've learned some things or heard some things, and curious if maybe you have some advice that you could offer our listeners who are parents and caregivers of children. Is there any advice you would offer on how we can integrate music and creativity into our daily life?
Hmm, that's a wonderful question. Yes. I'm of the opinion that we can be in community in many different ways, right? I know as children get older, they want to find their own voices. However, I believe that we have to create the space and also expose everyone to what is possible. I've seen many people where they believe that I have to become a lawyer or a doctor, and they become so focused on that that they shut everything else out. And then they get to college and they're stressed and they're just like, this wasn't what I thought life was supposed to be. And I strongly encourage parents and kids to try anything and everything. And it's most important to understand that with any craft, any skill, there is a level of discipline. There are supposed to be challenges because that is how you develop those critical thinking muscles and those muscles to develop any skill or technique. Try anything and everything, whether that's cooking, taking dance classes, just try it all and understand that it's okay if you don't get it the first time. And one of the things I love to do, because parents think, oh, my kid's off doing music, just let them go do their thing, create activities together. I love when I have the parents come in at the end of the lessons and I tell the students, you know what? I've done enough talking for the day. I want you to teach your parent how to play this specific passage on a piano. And you will be amazed. You'll learn quickly if your kid is bossy or if they have good organization skills. I have had many 7-year-olds come, you stick your hand here. And their parents like, ow. And they're finding out that that's a reflection sometimes of how they parent. So there's so many things you learn about your kid, and then it helps you pivot that way.
Wow, that's honestly really true that when we give our children a chance to teach us, we
Yes,
will learn what we've modeled to them
indeed.
for the good and for the bad.
Yes,
And I love that you are encouraging us to try new things. And you said something that stood out to me to tap into what is possible.
yes,
That's important because when we consider all the messaging we get in our society, it's like if we have to have a clear plan, we have to know what the end result will look like, and we just want certainty that this plan will work out for us. But that doesn't allow us to tap into our imagination and creating new ways and new things. And it's creativity and imagination that we've been gifted with to bring more vitality into our world. I believe that's a spiritual gift, and the spirit lives in every human.
every day.
And when it comes to music and creativity, not only are we saying find music that speaks to your soul, play it in the house, let your kids show you what music they like. I just think about the practical ways music can show up in our daily lives and recognizing that music does have therapeutic power, healing power, transformative power. But the way that you approach music and creativity with your work is to encourage children and families to experiment with new things and to learn from one another. And that's a beautiful practice for everyone. Everyone, we can all benefit from that. I appreciate you again lifting that up from what you've seen and experienced in your work.
Yes. The children will expose us to what they enjoy. We don't necessarily have to love it, but you can find so many commonalities in there as well. I think of a student right now that I'm not the biggest rap fan, but he loves Tyler the Creator. Instead of me shutting it down and be like, I'm not going to give this the opportunity, I'm listening to the lyrics and I'm learning this is what this child is going through right now. And this is how I can connect with him. And we can then think and understand what is the artist saying or what is their struggle and how does this child relate with that as well. So you can find commonalities when you step back and process their journey.
Yes, that's wisdom right there. And I'm really thankful you said that. I'm learning that as a parent myself. My 10-year-old is getting into K-pop music.
Popular one there.
K-pop is not a genre that I grew up with and not something that I listen to. And she's really into it. So that was a great invitation for me to say, okay, let me listen to these songs with you. So they're on in the car ride, of course. My children are the DJs. I don't control the music in the car. They control the playlist at this point. And I shared this with my kids. I said, "Oh, let's listen to these words. Oh, did you notice what that lyric said?" And I'll repeat it
Mm,
back to them. And I'll ask them questions like, "What do you think about that? Or how does that make you feel?"
mm.
And I do find myself asking my kids, "What was the message of this song that you
Yes,
heard?"
spot on.
And I've learned that over time as I've grown in my practice as a spiritual director, as a minister, I'm learning how to find the story beneath
Yes,
the activity or beneath the words. Like you said, there's a journey, there's a story there, and we can help our kids not only enjoy the music, of course, there's a time to just enjoy.
yes,
We
indeed
can,
there is.
we can also help them process, reflect more deeply on what's happening inside of them as they hear these words and hear these songs. We need to be open to different genres of music, or else we will miss connecting more deeply with our kids.
Spot on, spot on.
This is why for me, parenthood is a beautiful, transformative journey. Parenthood, whether you're a biological parent or you are parenting the next generation in the community or in the work you're a part of, it is a transformative journey to open up to these vulnerable lives that we are responsible to take care of and to learn from them. And they help us dig a little deeper into our own vulnerabilities, right? And I love what you said, be open to new ways together. That's important.
So many possibilities when you're open. So many.
Yeah. I
Yes.
appreciate again these words, the stories you're lifting up. Is there any other thought or story you'd like to highlight before we wrap up our conversation together?
Oh my, you're giving me the space to talk. I can go on for days and days, but I think I'll leave it there unless you have additional questions yourself.
Maybe you could offer us if there are any specific artists or resources that you know of that you think would benefit parents and caregivers of children.
There's a couple of things. One of the things that I found that helps me connect with a lot of my students or even help the parents connect, many of my parents were born in the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. Identify the things that they like to listen to. Or, for example, a lot of the kids were on the big Lady Gaga phase.
Mhm.
And I said, huh, okay, Lady Gaga's pretty cool. And I'm just like, have any of you all heard of Madonna? And they're like, no, that sounds old. And I'm like, wait, what? She is up there, but that's okay. But I played one of Madonna's original songs and then I played a newer Lady Gaga song. And I said, can you all hear how these sound alike? And they're like, oh, that's weird. Did she steal that? I said, no, she inspired Lady Gaga. There's so much inspiration. A lot of the kids now, we're not just teaching them what they know or what they listen to now. We're pulling out things from the 60s and the 70s. We have 6 year olds who are talking to other adults about Jimi Hendrix or the Rolling Stones. And the adults are like, how does this kid know about this artist? And it's because we're exposing them to the past and helping them see how they've inspired a lot of the new artists. You can do that with any craft, painting, right? Pull out a Picasso, and then someone talks about art being avant-garde. You would like, see, there's similarities. So you can always relate your experience as a parent or not as an educator to your child. You just have to like you said, be open and keep an eye out to see what are the similarities to help them connect with you.
That's really neat. And I'm glad you lifted that up because you're reminding us about legacy. You're reminding us about our lineage.
Indeed.
And that is important when it comes to how children understand who they are and how they got here.
Yes.
And we are only here because of our ancestors and those who have come before us, who prayed for us, who worked for a life that would bring us to where we are today. What I hear you saying is teach your kids about legacy, those who have come before us.
Yes.
Notice what was inspired in the next generation that came after. And it's really beautiful to point out how we might have traditions that continue and they're rooted in a value, and yet they might look a little different as time goes on.
Yes.
So you were sharing the example of Madonna's music inspired Lady Gaga. So there's inspiration and there's similarity, and yet it's a new emergence. It's a new way of creating the music. And that's something we can teach our kids to notice and pay attention to and ask our children when we show them different artists or different leaders from the past. We can ask our children what resonates with you. What do you feel inspired? And how will you create that into a reality for our time today? So that feels like a beautiful way to see the power of art, the power of music, and the power of just tapping into our creativity.
Yes. Tap into it. Tap into it.
Thank you, Brandon. Really appreciate the wisdom you're sharing with us and would love to know how we as a community can support you and stay connected with you.
There are a few different ways. We're on TikTok, so you can see clips of the students. Type in Artfinix, spelled Artfinix Studios. You can find us on YouTube. Same thing, Artfinix Studios. You can find us on Instagram. I'm not the best with it, but there's stuff on there. And even artfinixstudios.com. There's plenty more things. People can sign up for online classes. They can come in person. If you're all around, we're available.
Wonderful. We'll make sure to have the website and the social media handles in the episode description so that we can connect more easily with you. And I just want to say thank you again for the work you're bringing into our world. I believe it is some of the most important work that we need to really see our systems change, to see individuals change, and to really just co-create more wholeness and healing in our society, in our nation, and in our world. So thank you again, Brandon. I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Nurturing Parents, the official podcast of the Radically Inclusive Parenting Project. We hope today's conversation offered you a moment of connection, a spark of insight, or simply a reminder that you are not alone on your parenting journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone in your village. Together, we're building a more inclusive future, one conversation and one child at a time. For more information about the Radically Inclusive Parenting Project, visit us at inclusiveparents.org or follow us on social media at radically.inclusive.parents.